Hello and welcome. Today we're taking a look at some new offerings from CHANTECAILLE. So we have the 3 new cheek gelée as well as the 2 new lip glosses, and they also sent me one of the original shades in Love. So we're going to take a look at those, and all of these items here today were gifted. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with the cheek gelée. So this is the packaging on the CHANTECAILLE Cheek Gelée, and this in the shade Vibrant was actually one of my go-to cream blushes for years. I don't have it anymore. Once my tube kind of got pretty old, I haven't replaced it yet. But that was just such a beautiful shade. It's a really, kind of like a deep reddish berry shade that you can put on very softly. This shade here is called Delight. So this is one of the new shades. And you can see here that Delight it has a little bit of a metallic glint to it. You can see a little bit of a gold shimmer to it. And this is going to be more of a peachy coral, more of a vibrant peach with, there's a little pink in there. So it's like a peachy coral. And I do want to note that the packaging here is the same as it has been for years. And for some reason, none of my CHANTECAILLE cheek gelées ever had issues with the tube clogging or, getting that dry plug in it. So I'm not sure, maybe I just used them too frequently for that to occur or what. But usually tube blush products, you can get kind of that dry clog. They have to squirt out. That's never happened to me with these for some reason. But then we have the shade Euphoric. And a little bit of these, it really goes a long way. So I've never completely emptied a tube. And you can see this one here is going to be a bit more vibrant. We still have a little bit of a peachy hue in this, but this is definitely more of a warm pink. And it's more of a pinky coral. So, it's a little different there. But notice that although we still have a bit of a sheen to this, we don't have that metallic glint. There's none of this like golden reflect that we get with the first shade Delight. So we have Delight and Euphoric. And then our third shade is called Thrill. And on my cheeks right now, I have mostly Thrill with a little bit of Euphoric here. And you can see that Thrill is going to be more of I would say it's more of a copper brown. So you can see when you kind of shear this out a little bit, you have more of that coppery glint to it. Again, this one has a little bit, perhaps a little bit more of a metallic sheen to it. Not quite as much as Delight, but more so than Euphoric. Yet it doesn't have the color flip like we have in Delight. So Delight has that gold, whereas this stays true to the copper shade. And these are the 3 new shades. So let's take a look at these on the cheeks while we talk about details. And the CHANTECAILLE cheek gelées retail for $49 US. The CHANTECAILLE cheek gelées are described as a hydrating gel cream blush. These are made in Japan. We have 0.73 ounces or 21.62 milliliters per item. And we have a 1-year shelf life. These are gluten-free and vegan. They're also PETA approved. A few other things we don't have are parabens, cyclic silicones. There are no microplastics or phthalates. According to CHANTECAILLE, this is a hydrating liquid gel cream blush that combines the freshness of an emulsion with the lasting power of a stain. Sheer yet vibrant pigments add instant color and luminosity for a radiant, youthful glow. There are now 6 shades available, and as I mentioned before, I used to have the 3 original shades. Happy was kind of a soft, warm pink. Lively was a soft peachy shade. Both of those were very light. My favorite was Vibrant, which is described as a flirty raspberry. I'd say that's a pretty accurate description, maybe a little bit more red. But it's a really beautiful shade, and it's been a favorite of mine for years. That one has a depth more similar to Thrill, and the original 3 shades don't really have any sort of that metallic glint or any sort of color flip like we have with Delight. The 3 new ones texturally feel exactly the same as the originals. We have this nice gel cream product that you can buff out to a very sheer natural wash. It goes on beautifully with fingertips or a brush. You know, it's very versatile in application. As I mentioned, the shade Delight has some gold shimmer in it, whereas the other two don't have any actual added shimmer, but the coppery shade of Thrill has a little bit more of a coppery metallic glint to it just because of the color. I don't see any actual like glitter pieces in it. The CHANTECAILLE Cheek Gelees, they last all day on me, and once you pat them on the skin, there's no tacky finish to them. They really kind of set in well, and they feel very smooth, and I feel like you can get a really natural finish with these. This is a product designed to be built up, so it starts off more with a sheer wash, and you can build it up to the intensity that you like, but if you ever put on too much, this product still works so beautifully if you just take your foundation brush, you know, that you use and just kind of pat gently over it. You still maintain the same finish and you can still see that sheen through that. And you know, I think this is just a really nice product. I've always loved the Cheek Gelees. So thank you so much to CHANTECAILLE for sending these over. Out of the 3 shades, I would have to say, you know, I think for me, I actually really like Thrill the most, which is probably not my typical color choice. It's a really beautiful bronzy copper. And I think this is one that can kind of take the place of a bronzer as well. So it's a really great summer shade. Euphoric and Delight are beautiful, more coral shades. Again, with Delight having more of that golden sheen and being warmer tone, whereas Euphoric is slightly cooler in tone, but it's going to be a warm pink coral. And I think those are both very beautiful, but the Thrill shade is probably my favorite. So unfortunately, I don't have my original CHANTECAILLE Cheek Gelees any longer, but I did want to do a few comparisons. I just recently featured the new YSL blush shades on my channel, and this here is number 80, and you can see that this is going to be more of a brownish mauve shade, and this is Fig Fantasy. And then we also had 74, which is Hibiscus Heat, and I wanted to see how this one compared to Euphoric and Delight, and you can see that it's actually pretty close to Euphoric. I would say these two are really close to each other. And then this is the new Armani in 50S. So this is one of their shimmery shades. I wanted to see how this one compared to Delight because this one also has some shimmer. It doesn't have the gold flip. You can see this is going to be a little bit deeper. It's actually closer in shade to Euphoric and the Armani Hibiscus Heat. Or I'm sorry, the YSL Hibiscus Heat. However, it is more peach. There's like a slightly more intense version of Delight without the gold flip. Now, I do want to mention that these YSL blushes here will have a matte finish. This shimmer finish from Armani has a similar finish to the CHANTECAILLE. They're both going to have a little bit more of a dewier natural look with a little bit of a sheen. Again, we have some glitter in here, so that's going to be closer to Delight. These are still going to have the sheen though, Thrill and Euphoric, but without any noticeable glitter. So I hope that was helpful. Let's go ahead and move on to the lip glosses. Now, as for the CHANTECAILLE Brilliant Glosses, we have 2 new shades, which are these 2 shimmer shades. So the golden one here is called Gleam, and the pink one is Glimmer. You can see these are really beautiful shimmery shades here. They're basically going to be your glitter toppers. The Gleam shade is going to be a soft champagne gold, and the Glimmer shade is going to be more of a pink. But you can see a little bit of silver and gold kind of mixed in there as well. And then they also sent me one of their most popular shades, Love. So I actually used to have this in the older version. They do now have the doe foot applicator, whereas they used to have a little brush on the end here. So let's start off with Love, and can see I'm going to do a couple swipes right next to each other so you can kind of see a bigger swatch. It's going to be a very soft, sheer, light pink. I think it's a really beautiful kind of ballet pink, and it's just a really nice, versatile shade. let's go on to Gleam here. And you can see when the light hits it a certain way, you actually get a little bit of a pink iridescence in this as well. But this is going to be Gleam. And you can see when the light hits it, you see a little bit of, different shades of glitter in there. Now I do want to note these actually don't have microplastics either. So just something to note. And this is Glimmer, which is going to be a bit more, I would actually say that on the lips, I can see Glimmer the most out of the three of these, because the way that pink glitter kind of hits the lights, it just can look more intense with certain angles. So let's take a look at these on the lips. And before we actually go straight to the swatches, I do want to show you, this is one of the CHANTECAILLE, this is one of the lip cheeks from the Sea Turtle collection. This is Starflower. So because these are such light glosses, I did swatches of the glosses on their own. And then I did swatches with each of them over Starflower, so you can see what it looks like on a more pigmented base. The CHANTECAILLE Brilliant Lip Glosses retail for $43 US. They're made in Italy. They have 3 milliliters of product, 18-month shelf life. They're gluten-free, vegan, PETA approved. There are no parabens, no cyclic silicones, no microplastics or phthalates. So as I mentioned, 2 of these shades are new: Gleam, which is described as a pearly gold sparkle, and Glimmer, which is described as a soft rose sparkle. They've also included Love, which is described as a true pink. And I believe that Love and Blythe are their 2 most popular shades for the Brilliant Lip Glosses. They're both really beautiful shades. Blythe is a slightly warmer pink than Love. According to CHANTECAILLE, the Brilliant Gloss is enriched with 2 new botanical actives. It helps keep lips hydrated and looking plump while imparting lasting color and brilliant shine. Always shiny, never sticky. An innovative, microplastic-free and silicone-free formula gives unparalleled cushion on the lips. I've always enjoyed the CHANTECAILLE Brilliant Glosses. I think they've got a really nice texture. It's not sticky, yet it still has enough weight to it that it doesn't feel like it's wearing off immediately, and it kind of seals moisture into your lips. So we do have 2 new botanical actives here, so it has been redesigned a little bit. Between the brush and the doe foot applicator, personally, I actually do prefer the doe foot applicator better than the brush, just because sometimes the bristles on the brush could splay out, and they could be a little bit of a pain at times. But I have to say, this doe foot applicator really only picks up a minimal amount of product, so it's actually better for me to do one half of my lips with one dip into the tube and then re-dip for the other half of my lips, just because it doesn't feel like there's quite enough product that comes out with one. So for some people that's a pro, and for some people that's a con. I'm pretty neutral on that, but I do like the fact that it's definitely not messy or gloopy putting it on. And so I'd actually rather go less is more, within reason, of course. And I think that they did that very well with these. As for the 2 new shades, these are really just going to be sheer shimmery toppers. I like the fact that they're microplastic free. They are not going to be a very intense sparkle. Between the 2, Glimmer has a bit more of a stronger intensity than Gleam. And I think that's mostly due to the pink glitter in there being a bit more of a pigmented shade in general. So it just stands out a little bit more. Overall, I think these are really nice products, and I do want to note, though, that we do have a vanilla scent to them. If you're familiar with the CHANTECAILLE Lip Cheeks, they have the same fragrance as the lip glosses. The lip veils, however, have no fragrance. So they do kind of have something for everybody in their lip offerings, so just something to note there. And I just wanted to do a quick comparison with these 2 Cle de Peau glosses, because as soon as I saw the CHANTECAILLE shades, these are the 2 that came straight to mind. So these are both going to be shimmery ones. This one I wanted to compare to Glimmer, and this is 303 Mania Magnifica. And yeah, this is also a really nice formula. And you can see color-wise, they're going to be pretty similar. I would say the intensity is pretty comparable, but the The doe foot applicator on the Cle de Peau picks up a little bit more product. So I feel like it looks slightly more intense, but it's not really more intense just because I think more product builds up here. So that's just something to note. But the intensity is going to be pretty similar, and the shades themselves are really very, very close. I'm hoping that is coming through here. And then this one here is 302 Macara, and I love this shade. This is a go-to for me. Same deal with the intensity of the sheen here. But I would say that we have, I think this one's more golden. So, and I don't know, it feels like this one might be slightly more intense regardless, less of a clear base. But I think the Cle de Peau is just a little bit more golden, and the Chantecaille more champagne. So just something to note, but they're pretty close to each other. So I hope those were helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much to Chantecaille for gifting me with these products. I'd love to know your thoughts on the glosses and the cheek gelees. And again, I haven't heard anything official about the cheek gelee formulas being reformulated. If they have been, I can't tell any differences in the formula. As far as I know, these are just 3 new shades. However, the Brilliant glosses have had some tinkering, as they're now including 2 new botanical active ingredients. And we do have a switch to doe foot applicator. So I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you very soon. I hope you have a great day.